I think the overall picture is we are seasonal creatures. And so, we would never eat blackberries all year long. We would never eat strawberries all year long. We would never necessarily do the same movement patterns every day because we'd be doing different work outdoors. And so same with food. Sometimes we would feast, sometimes we would fast. So it's basically trying to just recreate the program the way that it was created, right?
100%. Our ancestors were nomads, right?
Mm-hmm.
They traveled in bands of 30 to 50
Mm-hmm.
and different seasons,
Yeah.
different latitude,
Yeah.
different regions afforded different foods. So I think the existence of our ancestors was such that food scarcity
Mm-hmm.
was just inherent
Mm-hmm.
into their lives. The term fasting, I think, again, can mean so many different things. And I want to start off by saying that what I'm really advocating for is what I'm going to call normal eating.
Mm-hmm.
Because our bodies, when we eat, go into a growth phase,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we have incoming carbs, incoming fats, our cells are like, woohoo, I get to multiply. I have what I need to kind of keep growing. And when we don't have incoming food for at least a period of 12 hours and we've used our glycogen stores, our body then goes into a totally different phase, which is that it starts to break down. It starts to use stored energy.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of balance between growth and between, kind of this buildup to breakdown is really the natural balance that we want for our bodies. And this plays out at a physiologic level, right? If we have continual storage of energy and not enough tapping into our stores, we run into what we're seeing today, which is a metabolic health crisis, right? And what I'm really advocating for is at least that 12 hours. So our bodies have that chance to go into both build up and breakdown mode. And at a cellular level, when we go that 12 hours, when we're in the kind of build up mode and that growth mode, we're, again, all continually kind of telling ourselves to proliferate. But when we switch to that breakdown phase, our cells go into that repair state. When our body switches from using glycogen or glucose for energy, and instead we switch to using fat, we create ketones in our liver. And ketones are a signaling molecule. So ketones tell our body, hey, hunker down. We're headed for hard times. Food is not coming in. And if you kind of picture, if we were told today a hurricane is coming, right? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the grocery store and start like hoarding everything, right? Yeah. And so our body wants to like just, kind of get into this really energy efficient mode where whatever resources we have, it wants to use them in the best way. And then it starts a stress resistant mode because if you have older cells that are kind of using a disproportionate amount of energy for what they're contributing, or worse yet, they're senescent and creating inflammation around them. It kind of wants to kill off those cells, right? So it's creating this super efficient state. And when we recover from the feeding after the 12 hours, then we have healthier cells that are proliferating. So when I use the term fasting, I call it normal eating because it creates this delicate balance in our body, right? Between buildup, breakdown, between growth and between kind of repair. And we need that really to stave off the chronic diseases that are robbing us of the quality of our life today. And if we can do a little bit more than that, I try and, advocate for people trying to go like 14 hours, ideally for the metabolic health benefit, because once you've switched into using ketones, you want to give a little bit of time for these repair mechanisms to work. So, it sounds hard, but I think we have to just remind ourselves that what we're not adapted for is our current lifestyle. Right now, if you look at data from like apps that collect data on dietary habits in this country, we're eating over a span of more than 15 hours, from waking up that first coffee juice in the morning until that bedtime snack at night. It's 15 or more hours is the average American, time frame of eating. And we simply aren't giving our bodies a chance to repair and recover. So we are accumulating damage without adequate time to repair that damage. And the time restricted eating, this kind of ideally, 14-10, And I might add, I know a lot of people think it should be 16:8, but that was based on rodent
Oh,
studies.
interesting.
And the optimal amount for humans can really depend on like your gender, your current health status, and a lot of variables. So I want people to feel like you have some ability to kind of personalize this.
Yeah.
And the benchmark really is trying to get at least past 12 hours. And ultimately, with all of these stressors, these hormetic stressors, the goal is, when you're in that right zone, is you want to go a little bit past your comfort zone, but
Right.
not to the point where it feels like overwhelming,
Right.
like it feels unsafe. And then you want to recover.
Right.
So you may need to start off with, may not even be quite 12 hours, but that's kind of just a benchmark. But hormesis will work when you are past your comfort zone.
And, there are people that say if you eat something under 50 calories, that would still keep you in a fast. Is that true?
This is a really fascinating topic because the purists, you can't even do black coffee,
Yeah.
But it really, mTOR, the mammalian target of rapamycin, it functions more like a dimmer switch. It's not exactly an on and off switch. And you can, kind of keep that dimmer switch still in that phase of inhibition where it's triggering autophagy, even with like a minimal amount of caloric, like, if it's a little bit of, coffee, for example, or a slice of an apple, when you've been fasting for 14 hours, you're probably still maintaining a lot of inhibition of the mTOR activity. I think you kind of almost sense when you're out of it. I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to do an extended fast or even extend that 14 hours, but I find such a sense of mental clarity and energy. And I can always tell when I've eaten because it, you feel like you need the fuel, but it also kind of changes that mental clarity. So you kind of sense when you've broken the fast.